Okay, we're now going into the Parsha of Yitzchak Avinu, which is, I guess, the chizuk of the beginning, actual formation of purpose, and what he called of Klal Yisrael. Now, it says, Vela Toldos Yitzchak ben Avram, Avram Harav Yitzchak. The Shivas, that's how he used to always say that when it came to people who were, not that they didn't believe, they weren't scoffers, they didn't make fun of anything. They just, it doesn't make sense, I can't believe it. A woman 90 years old, all of a sudden has a kid, doesn't think that. For those people to disprove that, in other words, that she did have a kid, is a nikabonim soha. All you needed was some kind of a thing that you see, she can give birth, she has milk in her body and this stuff. Oh, so she gave birth, no kasha. The ones that was scoffed, that made fun of it. Until Avimelech, she didn't have a kid. All of a sudden, when Avimelech is a kid, it says from Avimelech. So then the Beniman had to do something there. Avram Harav Yitzchak. How? By looking at Avram, at Yitzchak, you saw that Avram was his father. He had exactly the same look as his father. God is sneaking Kasha that according to the Masechtas Ketanis, Lot also looked exactly like Avram. And the reason that they attacked the Arba Malachim was because they heard Avram was in Sodom, and they therefore attacked Sodom. And even though they really had a reason to attack Sodom, but they haven't ever bothered with the country for 12 years, 30 years, and not going to go bother with it now. But they heard that Avram is there, they want to get rid of Avram. So that was the main thing. Okay. So basically, because of this, ultimately, the Reuven had to make age. Hikizokin Avram. Because if everybody thought Avram was Yitzchak, and Yitzchak is Avram, so some say you don't give the right cover to the right guy, and you give the wrong cover to the wrong guy. So because of that, one guy have to look older and younger. So therefore, we got aging came into play. Okay, until Ya'akov with sickness, but yeah. Anyway, they didn't have kids for 20 years. And the Reuven listed Tzaddik ben Tzaddik more than a Tzaddik ben Rosha. So therefore, the Reuven turned to Yitzchak. Right? And what was bothering her? I guess it was definitely not a normal lady. I mean, she had aunts, she had sisters, she was very cool, who knows, you're pregnant, you have a baby. There's no big Sachen, maybe. What do you call it? You have morning sickness, but you don't have no sources for abundant bebitna. So there's something that I guess that her main problem was, is it her or is it because she comes from that house, and therefore she has on one hand rishus and tzidkis and there's this total battle that will always be between the person himself. I mean, I don't know what she went to look for. I mean, what was she looking to? Went to the Navi for? She didn't expect to have twins. So she's discussing something that somehow is something that doesn't seem right here. Like, what is this that doesn't seem right? So the Reuven told them, so they go in Vitnech. It's really no kasha. It's not one person. It's not two character things of it. It's two different people, Tzaddik and a Rosha, and this would happen. And this nevuah lasted her that she knew that Yaakov is going to win. Yaakov is doing the thing there, nothing's going to happen, because the Rav Yavai Tzoya, because she knew that. Okay, and we're calling again the older one, the Rav Tzoya, right? That the Esav is the older son. Now, it's not going into Pechoria. We'll talk about in a minute. But if you're going in age, the one that lived longer on this world is the older son. And Esav was born a few minutes before Yaakov, so therefore he's the older son. So therefore, Yav Etzavi. So now, what's this argument about the Bechor? I mean, the thing there, Yes is the Bechor, so let's start up. So you're telling me, Rashi says, the first one in, second one, the first, last one out. That's connected to law. Anytime we have twins born, so the older twin is the Bechor. So let's not come. That's not a new law that came out. So what are you telling me? First one and last one out. So I want to be Bechadish a thing like this. It's not it's a chiddush, but we find Yankiv Reuven, wherever we refer to the Shvatim as a list of the Shvatim. So you have, let's say, Yigash probably, okay. When they're coming down, right? Can't turn the pages. Okay. Me'ele shmois b'nei Yisrael aboy Mitzrayim Yaakov bonav Bechor Yaakov Reuven. In what way is he the Bechor? Is he the Melech? No. Is he the Kohen? No. Is he the Pishnayim? No. Why is he the Bechor? You took it away from him. And this is wherever they mention the Shvatim, when it comes to counting the Shvatim in Bamidbar and Pinchas. Let's see, where does he go? Reuven Bechor Yisrael, Toldos Bechor Yisrael. Why? Because he was a Metzias, he was a Bechor Yisrael. What made him a Metzias that way? By a woman, we know who the Bechor is. Why? Peter Echad. Always the first kid through the channel of the birth thing, that's a Bechor. That's called a Bechor Heim. What's a Bechor of? Bechor of is the first child born through the zera of this husband through a woman. That's so many steps. Like it's not that's not really why. Why do you have to go that way? Because we don't have the first zera. Person was made zera when he was a little kid. First discovered that he has zera. So at that time already was in. Yaakov Avinu was Reishis Oini. You're my first zera. My first zera is a Metzias. You can't deny that this is the Bechor. This is the first of everything the child to do. The other one is not the first. He is the first. So one of the time the same thing happened by Yaakov Avinu, by Yitzchak Avinu. Yitzchak was a Maaseh that he married 20 years, but he was also an Okal. He couldn't have children, and the reason he couldn't have children because he couldn't be Motzi Zara. It just happened that this came to me once because I had such a shayla target l'maisa about someone who couldn't be Motzi Zara. Now they cured him or whatever it is, but that was the Metzias is he was never able to be Motzi Zara. Okay, so if you're not able to be Motzi Zara, so then this is the first Zara you have. Then it's your Bechor. First one in, last one out. When it's not the first one in, because it's not the first Zera, so it doesn't make a difference. So the first one out is the one that counts. Okay, so that's the way it is. So why do you have to buy it and all this thing? Because nobody's going to believe him. You're married 20 years and you never made a Zera. So therefore, you had to go through this whole thing, though. Okay. Now Rashi says the thing, and it's spelled the funny way. Gimel, Yud, with a thing, and they mean Geim, meaning individuals, big people. And who does it refer to? To Levi and Antoninus. That they both were so rich that they were talking about in their time. Now we don't have any problem like that. We're richer than they were rich. Rashi couldn't understand it. How do you have Tanoin and Chazeres at the table every single day? Oh yeah. I mean, you have to have a fleet of ships. One would come every day, another ship from a different place, and something like that. Right now we get an airplane, we have no problem how it's going. Okay, so we have all these things. But in that time, it couldn't be. Okay, so what did you prove with it? Antonius was a fine person, maybe even a ger. So what are you contradicting here? Oh, look at Antonius and look at Rebbe. I mean, that defines it? Yeah. Antoninus is the best of Esav. Rebbe, I guess you won't say the best of Yaakov in the sense of. At the end of his lifetime, Rebbe was able to hold up his hands and say that these 10 fingers were not nene for Melam Hazek, whatever that meant. Either it meant that ultimately Taki didn't participate in any of the stuff they had on the tables, or Taki did participate. But what he did is he ate 3 ounces of protein, whether it was a rib steak or not, but he only ate 3 ounces. He stopped after 3 ounces. He didn't have to eat a protein that he didn't like. He can eat a protein he likes. There's no thing, but it's still considered eating only the Shem Shemayim. You're not eating for any purpose except to enjoy the food. That's the only thing. I mean, of course, I have to eat a certain amount of protein every single day. That's what I'm doing. Okay. Okay. So that's Rebbe. Antoninus used to go visit Rebbe, and he would take 2 avodim with him, and according to Tesa with Chayiv Misa, these avodim, and he would kill one when he gets there, and one when he got back. And the reason is because he can't have them squealing that he's going to Rebbe. Okay. For fear of life, you think you can kill 2 people every day? I don't think so. You got to be Esav to do that. You're right, you're a ger. Maybe, I'm saying that there, but he still. So it came to me a big chiddush, and I think it's rayel double that it's so. We use a lotion, Gershon is gar ketinichinei ledami. That as soon as that the guy he's a new person, right? Why do you know? It's a funny kid like born. I mean, why just say you become anew, you become rejuvenated. I don't know whatever lotion you use, but when you're reborn. The lotion is this for a reason. There are 2 types of midas in the world. There's a midah that's hereditary, that's genetic, and then there's a midah that you learn from other people. The midah that a person can get rid of by becoming a ger is the midah that I learned from some other people. So therefore, when you're starting a new life, you have no past that formed you in any way. Finished. But what happens if it's genetic? Like I'm an amoyev, that they have no akos hatayv. In that case, they can't come into Klal Yisrael at all. They never get rid of the genetic midah. What about Esav, Edom and Mitzrayim, who they hate you or they want to kill you? Or God, but then if you have 3 generations of living the Torah, but not entering Klal Yisrael, you will have calmed down your that midah, and we won't be able to enter. So that's the difference. So when a person comes with genetic midas, it's unfair to I mean, he's got a big problem because let's say he was a ger tzedek, he's the Sa'at HaBochim of Nebuchadnezzar, right? He killed, all of a sudden he moves to Borough Park, and someone parks in his driveway. You know, this is a man who controlled thousands and millions of soldiers. You know, they're scared of him at the little thing there, and you have the chutzpah to park in my driveway. Take a gun and I blow your head off. Right? How do you stop a guy from doing that? A new guy. You learned how to be a soldier because you were trained as a soldier. Now you unlearn it. What happened if you're Esav though? That you can't unlearn it, and it's part of you. So then you have a problem, and that's what he's trying to show you. The best of Yaakov, the best of Esav are still not the same brothers. They're not the same people. Two different types of people. Okay. Now it says that Yaakov, that Esav, Vayivez Esav is Habachayah. And Rashi means there's two pshotim to what it is. Anechi haylech lomus. I'm going to die. What do we need the b'chayah for? One is it's short-lived because as soon as Levi is going to become big enough, Levi is going to take over the Kuhn. So Esav is losing it anyway. So what's the point? So why do I put myself in sakana for such a short period of time? On the other hand, there's a second shot that it's dangerous. You have to know all these halachas, and big deal. I don't need the covet. I don't need the what he called. And that's called Vayivez Esav Zabacher. He insulted the Becher. Why? The Maisa with Kimchas, she had 7 sons that were mishtamish b'kuni gedayla. It doesn't mean that there were 7 sons that were kohanim gedaylim. If that's what it meant, then it was was not a very lucky woman. 6 of her kids had to die for the other one to become the final one. Elavos, they were shimish between them.
They could just become tamid, they're not to die.
At one time. So shimish became a kohen. They served as a kohen gadol, but they weren't the kohen gadol. In that case, you gave up your kohuna. What do you mean you gave up the kohuna? Ma'adim b'kodesh ve'emariden, mechuyev to do the avodah nei begodim. He can't do the avodah nei begodim because the kohen gadol won't let him. So therefore he has to do it in 4. He can't do it in 4 because of so it's finished. Once I serve as a kohen gadol, I can't do avodah anymore. So but it's still worth it to be the kohen gadol. That's the point that I that's when something's choshev to me. The other ones, and there's a medrash that the malach that fought with Yaakov Avinu was Mechoel, not Samuel. Mechoel, the malach of Yisrael. In other words, what was his taina? You're afraid of Esav? Yechayim Yisrael. So, and the fight was that I'm not afraid of dying. That's not what it is there. My being afraid of dying makes me more zealous. I'm more careful in what I do. I'm not afraid of dying. And I think, look, I'll be careful, right? I'm afraid of Esav. Esav wasn't worthy to him. I have to be careful. What's the big deal? I don't want to be careful. That's it. I'm not Esav. And remember that. I'm Yaakov. That's the way he won. Okay, so those are the things so the fact that I wanted to serve you one day as the Kohen Gadol, that's a big zach. Yeah. So Reuven comes and tells him that even though there's a hunger here, and Mitzrayim has no hunger, because they have the Nile Delta, which has always water and everything else to grow everything. But Lemaise, you can't go to Mitzrayim. You have to stay Be'el Tzahi, because you're another Tamima, and you can't leave Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael means any part that the Yidden will ultimately control as their own, which is Eretz Plishtim. So therefore, he can't leave Eretz Plishtim, and he's going there. Okay. And he says, "Why is this that I'm so good to you? So here Rashi gives the tainch of what's a chayk. A chayk he going chazer and shatnez that the goyim say answer us. That's the lashon he uses, right? Say that they answer us. Yeah. Why? What does he say in Parshas Chukas? Over there he says a different lashon. Moinin oisam. They make fun of us. And here they're not making fun of us. So I had a kasha that on the Shenes Chukas HaTorah, the fish has certain, but Umas Ha'olam Moinin is Yisrael. Like Mamaz, what's this kind of law? What goes back to making these and there? Over here, they're answering us. What does it mean they're answering us? They say to us, you believe in God? Yeah, we believe in God. You believe God created a chaza? There's only one animal that's made only for eating, and that's a chaza. Every other animal is made for other things. Ride on, you can plow with it, you can do things with it. Chaza just lays there, and it's only for eating. And the Bamish can eat everything of the chaza. What we takes us 3 different types of foods. We need a chicken for gilbinis. Most guys don't even know what I'm talking about when I say gilbinis, you should know. And then gilbinis, the thing there, you can make it out of chaza. Pacha, you can make it out of chaza. Kishki, you make it out of chaza. There's nothing that's not edible in a chaza. And yet they tell me, you're not going to eat it. So what's your answer? You're right, but God said so. Right? That teaches you Yiras Shamayim. The Shiva, he said he used to use this. That's our case now of what teaches us always to remember that we have a God. Like this, you live a regular day. You forget about there's a God. I daven 3 times a day. This daven to God. I'm davening. I got daven shachar. I got daven mincha. I don't think what I'm doing. Okay. That's what the what do you call it? So what reminded of Adam Orishan? He walked back past the Leitz Hadas. Look at it and say, hey, this stuff looks interesting. So why not eat it? Because God said no. Simple as that. God said no. He's the boss. He made the garden. He made everything else. He told me not to eat. I can't eat it. He made the world. You're right. The chazah is made perfectly for food and everything else. God told me not to eat it, so I can't eat it. It reminds me always of a Beish of Yiras Shamayim. And that's really what you train yourself by doing these mitzvahs. Yiras Shamayim. There's a God, always remember there's a God. And therefore in Parshas Nosei, and Parshas Eschanam, Sheni, it says Azar Loshen. Right? Ushmartem v'asisem ki chochmas muvinasrem leini oamim asher yishmun es kol hachukim ha'ela. They will hear all the chukim. V'omru rak am chochem v'novin hagoy hagodol hazeh. How smart these people are. What, are you crazy? Tell me a thing that has no reason, and that's going to show you how smart we are? Yeah. Why do you show you how smart? Because it works. I don't understand how it works. And we had a guy here, Taki, when he put in the kettle houses. I see he had a long time relationship with the younger man. He went over to the younger man. He asked me, he says, "We put in the sad. Mexicans, they're religious people," and he said they had a kasha. He says, "We're here 2 weeks." I said, "I have 4 kids. They each at each other's throats all the time. And here I saw more than 100 kids, and here for 2 weeks I never saw one fight. What is it that you do?" That's the chayk. Okay. That's why the chukim is a zach. And the Rosh Hashanah puts it in a medical terminology, and I put it in a more modern terminology than he does. And let's say, I read the bottle. I've been suffering with headaches for a long time, and I take 2 Advil, I take 2 this and 2 that and 2 that, and called it health. And finally, you have the guts. I called the doctor. I said, "Doctor, I'm following what it says on the thing. I take 2." He says, "Take 3." "Oh, take 3. Now it works." "Oh." He says, "He's a genius, the doctor." He said, "I should have known myself to take 3. I mean, what happened? The doctor said to him, "I want you to gargle for 2 minutes." And the headache will stop. What a genius. What the doctor knows. The shaykh is one part of the body to the other part of the body. He gargling, he's going to take away a headache. He talks stupidity. And you're telling me that this is godless. That's why a chayk who has no, you don't understand why he said it, and it works. So obviously there must be genius here. You understand everything. That's why the Dosh what the chayk was. Okay, so it tells Avos Hashem. The kasha was, I always had a kasha on that Rashi and Chukas. Simple, it doesn't make sense to me. We all do the same thing. If a guy has a fight with his wife, what does he buy her? A new refrigerator? He goes and buys some flowers. And long stem roses, they're not the ones he got in Catskill. He had to go to Bernard for these. I mean, this is good, $100, $200 for the dozen. And he brings them home, and she opens up the box, and she starts crying, how much my husband loves me and all this thing, wonderful. And now, where are we going to put them? We don't have a vase tall enough for them. And as soon as we put them in the vase, they knock them off. So we finally got a garbage pail that's deep enough. We can hold it in there. Okay, we're going to put it. In Shabbos, we don't use the dining room except Shabbos. But we can't put it in the kitchen. It takes up too much room. Okay, so we'll put it in the dining room, and she'll look every so often and see pass by how much her husband loves her and all wonderful. Okay, finally comes Shabbos, and now everybody's going to see my flowers. And I put it in, and I put them on the fly there, and the guy says, can someone take the flowers off? I can't see anybody. And you take the flowers off, goes on the side. And 2 days later, they smell terrible. You have to get them out of the house before you hang up the whole place. Wouldn't it have been more reasonable to go and buy something, even a good can opener, for $100 or $200, and then at least the wife will have a noya from it? No. I want to see how much you love me, but how much you're willing to waste money on me. That shows it. Ben she wants to put a paraduma. $1 million? Big deal. It's $1 million. We'll build a paraduma. You want to buy me? He wants an Eslig and Lulav. We'll buy an Eslig and Lulav. One time I used to get them for a set. Now I got to buy them individually, and it cost me 3-4 times the same amount for the same things. And this year they took me for rides all together. And whatever you did in this thing, and I pay it gladly. Why you pay me gladly? I want to show the bench I love him. And how do I show him I can only do a mitzvah? That cost me money, and then you show that I love him. So what was your kasha on the paraduma? Who cares what it does? The flowers don't do anything for me either, and still I bought the flowers. So what's your kasha? I tell you that's not what the Rashi means. Rashi means that when the story the Gemara brings is Doma ben Esina, which was a goy, and for whatever reason he was zeicher to have a paraduma born by him, and you have to buy it from him on the first day that it's born, because you can't leave it by him, and the soymech that he doesn't put a weight on it, so therefore he'll passel the paraduma. So you're paying the $1 million, $1 billion, whatever you're paying it when it's an egla. It's not a parah yet. It don't become kosher for avoided for the year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever the din parah is. And then, by that time, the color can change. Your blonde-headed sister is not blonde anymore. She was born blonde, but she's not blonde anymore. So hairs do change. And you got to do that. And it's only a suffix if you're going to be there. Okay, so then that's the kasha, why you're doing it. You got to be crazy. Okay, but then I think that was the Shaddai thing. Okay. Anyway, the Shiva is a Ramban God by Avram Avinu, when he said by Para, I think they said that he said it was nenesh from it. What do you call it? Shiva held that it was a Talmud Torah. That the guy who wrote it, they didn't understand clearly. Why? Because if it was so, Avram would not have repeated it a second time by Avimelech, and Yitzchak would not have done it again. So therefore, the fact that you carried it on from one to a second generation is a raya that that's what you're supposed to do. So therefore, the El was a Talmud Torah. Okay. Anyway. Okay, he makes a lot of money. Okay. Now I want to go into a little bit. Last week we spoke a little bit about, did we last week? Is it last week? I don't know. I think I did. Yeah, last week, yeah. Okay, so we spoke about the godless of Rivka and how good she was and how to get, now even though you're a bully, even though that's the way you get your kicks, that I should be resentful. But if that's the only way you're going to get it, and you wouldn't get it any other way, I'll do you a favor, I'll give it to you. Even though you're a rotten guy. Okay. Yitzchak, in a way, is even better than that. What did they do? They were jealous of him. He planted 100 times, he got there. So they came along, and whatever Avram dug up, they filled them up. There was no more wells. What was the excuse they used? Why would you destroy water? I mean, water is a very important thing. Except they say, if we ever get attacked and the water's outside the city, the enemy will have a source of water and we'll be starving of thirst. It's better if we close it up. So they did that. Sitmun plishtim v'yimalu. And Avimelech tells him, go away. Lech mimanu ki yotamtim men moed. We're too jealous of you. Good. He went away and he went to the valley, wherever it was there. He came back to Gor. He undigs the wells that they filled up, right? And then Vayachbu, also Avning Yitzchak Banochal, you're talking about a lot of wells, so that's why people maybe mix it up. So Banochal, and then those were new wells. Well, those were not the ones in Gor. So you see that Avram knew, Yitzchak knew, they did this to get me out of here. They get rid of the wells. But I know they need the wells. And they're my enemies, Taki. Oh, but they need the wells. I went and I dug the wells so they can have the wells. Now that I'm not there, they don't have to seal them up again. No reason sealing them up because they don't want me to have annoyed. I'm not there anymore. That was it. Okay. And you see that basically what he did, he took over the Avodah of Avram. He took over the yeshiva in Beersheva, and he continued there. So now with the Avodah of the purpose of the office at that time was still to spread the Shem Hashem in the whole Olam Kulei, and therefore that the blessed is this. Only by Yankov Avinu there's a turn internally that we become a nation for ourselves. Okay. Okay, Esav is 40 years old. He wants to imitate his father. In other words, I don't know if pshat imitation, I don't think it was that pshat thing there. I guess the pshat is that until 40, I wasn't out the bacha yet. I didn't have to knock myself out to get married. I can still enjoy having fun. And then I saw that Yitzchak got married at 40, got serious matters, so I got to get married at 42. Okay. And he gets married, and he marries two women. And and the funny names. Vayikach Isha es Yehudis bas be'eri hachiti es bas mazalgun hachiti. Now, in Parshas Bishal Vayishlach, it says over there that who is, what do you call it? They're talking about the wives of Esav. There is it again. Esav here, Esav lokach snoshim im neis kenon, es oda bas Elon hachiti, ves olivoma bas ano bas sivan hachivi. And he goes and he says, who is he? He says, this is Yehudis bas be'eri hachiti. Well, chiti, chivi, well, but tough. There's some talk to say that when they're living. Well, but tough. Not in many but it's not true. There was something special about the chivi that Avram Avinu didn't want to mishadeach with him. Timna came to become a Giyuris. And at Chois Leiton Timna, Avram was not Mekabbalah. And Yitzchak was not Mekabbalah because she was a Chivi. Ultimately, she doesn't marry. She becomes a Pelegish to Eliphaz and the mother of Amalek. And whether you want to call it, it's a payback for not being Mekabbalah, whatever it is there. But that's the case. She wanted so much to be Mizachist with the children of Avram, and you would doichik me. Okay? Because whatever reasons. Why? And we see this follows us really all the way through to Shem, and then to Osnas and Menashe and Ephraim. There's a keach of acting that they had. You find that besides this Maisa, the Givonim were also from Chivi. What did they pretend to be? They come from far land, and they were hungry, and they pretended to be hungry, and Yeshua made a treaty with them, and because of that we were nanished with them. But the Maisa was, why did they believed them? They were good actors. Shem was a good actor. By the way, Shem was a good actor, Hamor was a good actor. He spoke to one side of the argument, don't worry. Well, these guys, don't worry. You made everybody feel good. You got to be an actor. How to do these things. And so Mamela, he knows that he can't marry a Chivi. His father would be very rejected. So in order to do it, he pretends she's a Chiti, but at the same time he calls us Zehudis. She's Kaifa and Aveda Zorah. Now she's going to be such a good actress. There's so many lousy actors, what can you do? So she was a Barasuach and to Yitzchak. But Lamaisa, he had hoped that she could pass muster as a Chiti. Whatever it is, and the reason that the Benishim didn't want, or Avram didn't want, obviously the Benishim did want, because he made sure that Osnas got married to Yosef and stuff like that. But the Yikel, when Yaakov forgot the second, Mi'ela, who's the Ephraim Menashe, who are these guys? They're goyim, they're this and that. So he says to him that was because he couldn't understand his kid should be so, and what would he? The Ov Menavot and Avav. You can be Ach of Hashem, of Aved Zorah, pretty contradictory. You can be God Hador and make it Aved Zorah, you're Ov Menavot. Don't make sense, either one of them, but you're an actor. You're not the person himself. You always try to imitate something else, and that's a problem if you can do it. There's nothing wrong with it. We may have to listen to the Golos, and that's maybe why the Benishim did it, that we were able to pretend to be certain people, certain ways that we are, and that we are able to be this. And the truth is, who made Hollywood? Actors, Jews. Because that's who we had, that Keach. But anyway, that's what he did. Okay. Anyway, then Yitzhak gets old. He's blind. Can't really see who's who. And he wants to give Esav, this is a machlekes, which is reality has to do in how families have to be noig. You have, the Gemara says, Kul alma, mila the beisa, you live into your wife. Mila the alma is a machlekes, mila shmaya only to the husband. But mila the beisa, you listen to the wife. And the Gemara says, why? Because just like the Shenamis was able to say about a Gechazi, that he is a Yerei Elikim, Ish Elikim, he said a Gechazi he is not, and because she's Makir, everybody goes better. So she knows her kids better. So she identifies the problem. In other words, we have a kid that's a bum. We've got to do something about it. Okay? What to do about it? That comes in the husband, who's the Ben Taylor, and he's supposed to give you the solution. We have two of these cases by the Ovis, and both seem to be not to work that way. One of them, Avram and Sorah about Yishmael, and the Ben Shalom sides with Sorah, says Shema B'Koila, because she's a Nevuah bigger than you. She's more holy than you are. She's magish what to really do better than you, Avram. So therefore, in that case, it was all hers. He identifies the problem, and you see, he didn't argue with that. He felt bad because he went out to tell B'schor, but he believed what she said. Another thing there, but I don't think that's the solution. Okay, but in that case, we have to listen to her. And by Rivka and Yitzchak, again, the same thing. Somehow he's not listening to her. And she's telling I identify Esav and tell he's not a good kid. He said. And Yitzchak is not a fool either. He tells the kid, what does he tell him? Yeah. Son, what do you take it? Take your stuff there. A second, I will see. I'll give you chavet a scheit yofe. Should shecht well. Don't feed me any nevela. Right? That's in Parshas Rabbah. V'tzudeli min ha'hefker v'loy min ha'gezel. So I'm telling my son, well, I'm asking him to go make me food. I'm telling you, I want you to make it kosher, and I don't want you to steal. So he knows that he wouldn't tell that to Yaakov. He's not going to tell that to Yaakov. Yaakov, he knows, not going to steal. Yaakov's not going to think. So he knows who Esav is. Yeah, but why is Esav? So the assumption is Esav. He's lazy. Not bad, he'll do the mitzvahs if it won't take too much out of him. But if it's going to be a big deal, he's not going to do it. For my father, I'll listen to him because I know how much he bothers him, and I love him, and that's a din of what was Seimachan, or when the kids came when the parents came from Europe, and they were already older and everything else, and the kids were all Machalei Shabbos, and they lived by them in the house and ate their food and ate their things. How do you know they're kosher? Except, never like a Beit Chai. I know my kid won't lie to me. He might lie to me, but same Yitzchak also. My kids won't lie to me. Okay? But I want to do something for my kid. My kid has to have some kind of shaykhs to the ruchnis. And if he doesn't want that, he's going to be lost. The only thing I can give him is the support of Torah. Because to learn, he's not going to learn. I know he doesn't know anything. Because he asked me about the salt devices. So what are you saying? Oh, what about how he's makbid and this is? Nah, he learn, he doesn't learn, that for sure. But he holds as a shaila, you have to give mice and this and that. Maybe you got to give him everything. So he's asking shailas to show throw me a bone like, Dad, I'm really interested in this stuff, stuff like this. But the medicine is, you're not Amoritz, you don't know nothing. I'm Choshit for you. Okay. So that's what he wants. Okay. Bring me the side, bring me the thing. Okay. Meanwhile, Rivka overhears this, and she tells Yaakov a big yesod. You cannot trust a guy who doesn't believe in it to support it. Can't work. So if the guy doesn't believe in Torah, it's not going to work. And the truth was, even in the early years, when I was a kid, all the board of directors of all yeshivas were Freie Yidden. No Former Yidden there. Why were they Frei? Because their bubbas told them, you got to give charity. They were born kosher Yidden. They were born kosher. So they were hated, so they gave tzedakah. But they didn't give to support Torah. MTJ, when there was this whole scheme, when the Yeshiva took over and the whole Maaseh, at that time, the guy made it into the, what do you call it, the Hebrew boys' home. In other words, kids were still coming back from, getting saved from the concentration camps, from the, what do you call it? So we're willing to support a boys' home, not a yeshiva. Yeshiva won't support. Boys' home will support. And then when we finally turned out to be a cook, and everybody walked away from the table, the yeshiva then took over and said he'll fund it and whatever, do it. It became his place. But until that time, there was this idea that, we give charity, we don't give them. Their children don't even give charity. They give tax deductibles, yes, but they don't give charity. They don't look at what the ufketom, what the thing of what's right and wrong or everything else. That's not a thing anymore, because they're now the mamzerim, the goyim, whatever they are. They're not what he got. So now God has given us our own money. The Former Yidden are able to do it. But at that time, it was that thing, that it was a, but he had to give him something that they have some shaykhs to. No, it would be a source for them. Okay, so we really, the bracha that we got, the Yitin Lecha, is really the bracha of Esav, not the bracha of Yankiv. The bracha of Esav, that we don't need Esav, that we'll be able to support us, but with a kvetch. Esav will have money as much as he wants, because he keeps asking his father, he keeps saying to him, your brother came with me, I don't know what to do for you or something. He says, right? He said, I can't do it. But then he says, you only have one bracha? You don't know about Gashmias? No one ever taught you about that stuff? I don't know interested in the Ruchlias. Oh, you'll have everything all the time, no problem. Why? Because it's not negay. Yeah, when you're satisfied with Gashmias, it's fine. And that's why he was masking that, what do you call it? Now, he had very Yaakov is a little strange here. He's trying to fool Yitzchak, right? How come Yitzchak says, he says, what's that called, Yaakov? I mean, he sounds like Yaakov. If that was the case, you couldn't fool him. He knows who he's talking. It's Yaakov's talking, not Esav. Right? Yeah. Yaakov sounded just like Esav, same voice. So, what made him call Yaakov? He said Lashon words that Esav would never say. Vayemi Yaakov Avi. Just he didn't just say what. How did Esav come in? Who? Hey, get up, Dad. Start to eat. Lunch is here. right? Father said, Ovi. Then he asked him, how come you're here so early today? God gave him this. You're Esav? You're not Esav. Esav don't talk like that. Right? But what can I do? He sounds like Esav. He feels like Esav. He's Esav. But I call Yaakov, but he's still saying the words of Yaakov. It don't make sense. Halavai, maybe the truth is somewhere along the line. I mean, that's his dream. It may be me Mekuyim. Okay? And he gives him the bracha. He gave him the bracha, v'yitein v'choza v'yitein. And which is, as I say, he didn't know he was giving it to Yaakov, but it's the bracha for Yaakov too. It's really not a bracha. Why? I'm only giving you a bracha as long as you're doing the right thing. If you're not doing the right thing, there's not going to be any bracha. But in a way, that's the best bracha I can have. I know when I started going down. When I'm starting to go the wrong way, all of a sudden the bracha stops. Bracha stops, you know you better do tshuva. You better doing something wrong. You better start getting to work. That's the problem. So therefore, that's a big bracha. But for a guy who only wants gashmis, he just wants it in the bank. He doesn't care where it comes from. And when he realized that he gave the bracha to the wrong guy, and he says Gambor Chiyeh. So Rashi says until he said the words Gambor Chiyeh, the bracha wouldn't have been klal, because it was done by Toyis. I intended to give it to Esav, and I gave it to Yaakov. So that's not a bracha. Abel, Gambor Chiyeh. In other words, I'm asking that he should have it. No? And I think the reason for that is he saw that Rivka went out of her way to be, to do something like you want to call it, to trick him, if you want to call it. That thing, because obviously she wasn't getting across with her arguments. And why wasn't she getting across? Because, she comes from Lavan. She has a brother Lavan, a Besuel, and she always sees Roshayim under the bed. So maybe she sees a Rosh in my kid. Really, the kid's playful kid. He's not a Rosh. But once she realized that she resorted to such trickery, then I see that she really means it, and she evaluated it well, and therefore I trust her opinion. And that's what he called. Okay, anyway, they go away to what he called, and he sends it to Padnachon. Okay. Now the Haftarah tells us an interesting thing. Malachi is talking here, and he says, I love you, he's talking to the Jews. Hallelujah. Esav, no, I hate Esav and I love you. The Yidden say that, somehow it doesn't look so good to me like that. You say you love me, we're always poor, we have no money. Esav has the bracha all the time, he's rich, he has money wherever he goes, has successful military success, the whole world is bowing down to them. And you tell me you love me. So the time is that I do love you, because I gave you the bracha that you're able to always do the right thing. And he gives that chiyuv, interestingly, to the Kohanim. In other words, what has happened, I remember this in yeshivas, okay? I remember once going to the yeshiva to a gevir one time, a well-known gevir, a frumer, and there weren't that many at that time. And he gave him $100. That was a nice sinner, $100. And then he tells the Rosh Yeshiva, I'll give you 1,000 if you'll rate me a receipt for 10,000. He says, I can't do that. We don't do that. Okay. To me it bothered only for the thing is, 100 I'm willing to give you. And I can tell you, let's say I was in the 50% bracket. So I'll give you 1,000, but give me a receipt for 2,000. Okay, you understand that? I don't want to lose. I'm not ready to give it, but I know I want to support you. So I'll give you what it is there if you give me but I want 10 times as much. That means I want to take off my taxes, $10,000. And that means I'm making 5,000 for myself. That's an avla. But anyway, that was it. Why didn't anyone do it? I'm assuming if you propose it to a shiva, that means other people have done it for him. Why? Because he says there, do you say that the table is not megoyel? You're shaming my table. What is it? Your table? You take a Baal Mum. No one's bringing korbanos, right? We'll take Baal Mumim. It's okay. Don't worry about it. We'll make the korban out of Baal Mum too. Okay, so now we have at least a couple of korbanos there. So at least the table's not empty. That's an insult. You're selling us down too cheap. You're not coming with for the reason. You're not coming with the cause. You're giving me with money. You'll make some money on me. That's the only reason I'm willing to do this for you. That's not stuck here. Stuck is I'm coming for it because the good desire. You shamed me. You're making by you're taking such money. You're lowering the covered Torah of what do you call it? And therefore he gives this job really to the Kehanim. That was your job is to repair this type of thing that happened, that people do it.
Whatever happened with this guy?
I'm sorry.
So she happened to know whatever happened to this guy. I can't imagine that someone should do such a
I don't want to say things because people may know things. So I don't want to say nothing. He says, what was the godless of Pinchas or Aaron, whoever we're talking about here? Tera semes heise befi vavel nims besvos b'sholom mishol achitei rab meheshim ovim he svifsei koyin shimuda yishbu das v'stei yivach mipi yimal Hashem tzvakas. The Gemara says, very interesting. Im doimer rabcho l'malach elikim yivakish teira mipiu. Im lav al tevakish teira mipiu. You're not supposed to learn from a guy that's not doing the malach elikim. What do you mean malach elikim? Who's a malach elikim? What are you talking about? Yeah, a guy that he's fake as I don't know what I'm doing. You think, but one thing that we do, I don't come and tell you do this for wrong or ulterior motives. I'm telling you do this because this is what's right for you. This is good. This is emes. This is what he called. Not trying to fool you. Not trying anything there. I don't make it if I was, that's avlon sims for you. That's enough to be called a malach elikim. You're not necessarily a malach elikim. You're not the big tzaddik. You're not the big very good. You're nothing there. But I don't fool you. I don't give you the false ideas of what's right and wrong. Yeah. But that is the thing, and a lot of people, unfortunately, on this inyan, Gemach Hashem Tzvokis, you have to be Malach Hashem. See, there was was once a shiva in Eretz Yisrael. The guys went to learn there because supposed to be was a big chorif, a big, what do you call it? That's what he went to learn by him. Also, that's a breaking power. No, I learned in that yeshiva. Okay, good, in that yeshiva. You ever get a shir? No, whatever the name. I learned that yeshiva. And they would say, a Loshen, I don't go there for his midas, I'm going there for his Torah. You're not allowed to learn there. It's also, he's not there in the Malach HaLekim anymore. Except, and that's really what happened with Rab Meir and Achel. What happened with Rab Meir was following Achel on Shabbos. Achel was riding a donkey. And he got to Tchum Shabbos, and he says to Meir behind him, Ad kan Tchum Shabbos, you got to stop. And I keep going. He keeps going because he's Bechal Shabbos. But as far as and the Chacham had a taina to him, why are you following? Why are you saying teos to him? So he said, I take it's like a fruit. I throw away the shell and I keep the fruit. He said, then you're the Rebbe. You're not the Talmud anymore. You're deciding what's right and wrong. The idea is you're supposed to hear the Rebbe tell me what's right and wrong. That's what I'm coming to the Rebbe for. But you're deciding it, so you're the Rebbe. So then you're not a Talmud anymore. So that's why you can't do it that way. You have to come, you have to be ready to accept everything. And he used to tell the guys, you want to go to that yeshiva? Then the guy obviously has a reason for what he holds. And think this, so maybe what he holds, maybe he's right. So I'm ready to be Mikabel with the midas and the things, whatever it is there. And what was the midas? The midas was believe was a bat and a vattel. It was he was always knocking the other guy and stuff like this. Shtus, whatever it is there. We're not getting any credence to anybody. Was that bad? Not. But that you're willing to do, that I'm your Talmud, it's fine. No, nothing wrong with that. But if I'm saying I hold it's wrong and I'm still going to you, that's an allowed to go to. Have a good Shabbos, everybody. A good Slocha Rabbit.